let's see what the news has in store for us this week. So we'll ask Copilot. Okay, so here are the top alternative media UK news stories for the past 7 days from Copilot. Political satire and outsider politics. Navigate Politics Weekly Roundup. Count Binface attempted breakthrough in Clacton dominated alternative media political chatter, framed as a commentary on voter disillusionment and the appetite for non-traditional candidates. His failure to secure a Westminster seat is being interpreted as a sign that protest politics remains symbolically powerful but electorally limited. Yeah, he didn't get the seat in Clacton. Unfortunately, Farage did. Farage. Okay, crime, justice and public trust. The Henry Nowak case has made the news again. Independent outlets continue to spotlight the murder of Henry Nowak, which has triggered a national debate over policing standards, public safety and trust in law enforcement. The case is being used to question systemic failures and political accountability. Rightly so. Rightly so. It's not acceptable what happened to Henry Nowak. The whole handling of what happened to Henry Nowak is unacceptable as well. So procedurally, it failed. So everything needs to be looked at as far as I'm concerned, and accountability needs to be had. Early prisoner release controversy. This is another Burnham thing. Yeah, Burnham thing. Andy Burnham faces mounting criticism over the early release scheme, with alternative political sources framing it as a clash between public safety concerns and overcrowding driven policy decisions. Well, when they're carting away old ladies and old men for silently sitting and holding signs and trying to put them away, it's not surprising that our prisons are overcrowded. So I think there may be a problem with justification for who they're putting in prisons. And I think politically, those decisions are being made. So when it comes to early release schemes, yeah, let's go for an early release scheme. Let's release all the people that are sick of the genocidal regimes in other countries and have been protesting against it. Let's release them. Just a thought. Fact-checking and misinformation, non-mainstream watchdogs. Full Fact Investigations. Full Fact is an independent, non-mainstream fact-checking organisation, and they have published several high-impact corrections this week. False claims about Bexley Council warning residents to keep daughters indoors due to asylum seekers. Now, whenever we have these things that are being corrected, usually in the mainstream, there'll be a massive splash on the front page of a paper warning people, or just a headline that is going to grip you, grab you, and probably out of fear, usually. And then when there are retractions, because the facts come out that it's not actually quite true, it's usually buried in somewhere else. It's not on the front page. We made a mistake. So it's buried. And I always say, when these come out, when these fact investigations come through and find that actually what was reported wasn't factual, who benefited from that? Who benefits from making people in Bexley Council scared of letting their daughters outside due to asylum seekers? Who benefits from that? It's the puppeticians who would like you to be at each other's throats so that you don't have to look and be at their throat over what they're doing. I'll continue. Viral hoaxes about Home Affairs officers robbing homes. That sounds quite bizarre. And AI-generated fake videos of a woman in a niqab confronting police. These stories highlight the scale of misinformation circulating outside mainstream channels. So they're trying to couch it. Copilot's trying to couch it that actually it's the alternative media that are getting it wrong. Well, it's really difficult when it comes to AI-generated information or any form of social media output from AI. It's very difficult to tell what's real and what's not. But again, just question who would be benefiting from putting this misinformation out. If it's a misinformation campaign, where is it coming from and who benefits from it? Follow the trail and see what happens. Social policy and accessibility. 24/7 free bus travel for disabled people. Andy Burnham's decision to remove time restrictions on disabled bus passes, enabling free travel at any hour from April 2027, is being widely covered by alternative outlets focused on social justice and accessibility. I think it should be that people with disabled bus passes should be able to travel at any time of day or night. I also think that people who are of pensionable age shouldn't be restricted to when they can use their bus pass as well. Because from what I understand, if you are a pensioner, you do not get free travel before a certain time of day. And I think that that's outrageous. I think if you're a pensioner, you've paid into the system all your life, you should be entitled to travel free on public transportation at any time of day or evening. So we'll see if he extends it. It would be nice. Business and economic shifts. Oh, we had this before. Bain Capital acquires Vita Biotics. Alternative businesses and finance outlets are analysing Bain Capital's nearly 900 million acquisition of Vita Biotics, noting concerns about consolidation in the UK health supplement market and the exit of Tej Lalvani. I don't know who Tej Lalvani is, and if he's something to do with Vita Biotics, whether he was a founder or something along those lines. We still don't really know who Bain Capital is. I think they're like a hedge fund. I think they're an organisation that manages people's money and puts it into different industries for them on their behalf. But again, we really don't know whether they're linked to BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, because if they are, then they will be decapitating Vita Biotics and effectively changing the company and the corporation to the point of altering everything that it used to be, because that's what is common for big money financiers to do when it comes to taking over organizations. So yeah, I trust that Vita Biotics survives. Not so sure that it will. Culture, society and political mood. Farage and Badenoch, power dynamics. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Badenoch will fight with Farage in order to remain relevant in the current day, so that she has her face and her name out there and people are speaking of her. With the PM away, alternative political commentary has focused on the manoeuvring between Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch, portraying it as a struggle for narrative control within the right-wing political ecosystem. They're all as bad as each other. They're all as bad as each other. And they're all rampant Zionists. Badenoch, Farage, Burnham. Bonus, fringe and cultural commentary. Celestial event and political symbolism. Navigate Politics also highlighted a major celestial event, using it as a metaphor for political unpredictability and public fascination with outsider figures like Binface. So they've spun it. I mean, I don't know if the major celestial event was the eclipse that we had the other week. Possibly. Not sure. Okay, so that's it, really. It says I can expand any of these into a full brief, but I don't think we need Copilot to do anything like that. So that's it from Copilot. We'll now ask Claude the same question. Okay, here are the top UK news stories according to Claude. So Claude has put politics and government at the top, And he's pulled these recent stories from a spread of independent alternative UK outlets like Novara Media, very good, The Canary, amazingly good, Byline Times, and Declassified UK. So here is from last week. Byline Times has published a wave of stories tracking Reform UK's finances and internal turmoil. I love Byline Times for this. They're like a dog with a bone. They will not let it go. And I think it's brilliant. I think there should be accountability. I really do, including a report on the criminal complaint and data protection dispute surrounding the collapse of a rival party to Reform UK, published August the 13th. I didn't know anything about that. Novara Media have reported that Andy Burnham has signed a military AI deal with Ukraine, with trial technology set to be rolled out to stop protesters and foreign states targeting UK defence sites, with the government saying it would extend to airports, prisons, railways and energy plants. Signed Monday, August the 24th. So that was this week that was signed. So he signed a military AI deal with Ukraine, with trial technology set to be rolled out to stop protesters and foreign states targeting UK defence sites. How interesting. I wonder if Israel is tied up with that. I wonder. I'm sure we'll find out more as it goes on. As long as it's not a hidden agreement, as long as it's something where we as citizens are allowed to see, we should be able to find out what's going on. Environment and Tech, Novara Media revealed that 2 planned UK data centres, Wops's Wood in Buckinghamshire and Quest Park in Bedfordshire, will together produce more carbon emissions than ExxonMobil's entire annual UK output. Using 1.3 gigawatts of power and generating over 4.5 million tonnes of carbon emissions per analysis by the non-profit Foxglove. That was published the 26th of August, which is today, because I'm doing this live on Twitch on Wednesday the 26th. Now that's really concerning. Not much mention of, the carbon emission side is really concerning. If they're that concerned about global warming and the climate crisis, makes you wonder, doesn't it? They're only concerned when it suits them, when it lines their pockets. And yet 4.5 million tonnes of carbon emissions going to come out of 2 data centres. I wonder what the people in Buckinghamshire and Bedfordshire feel about these data centres being built. I don't think this will be the last we will hear of it. I for one, would be in absolute uproar, because for the size of the data centres that they're actually looking to build, the amount of water that is going to be consumed in order to keep all of that cooled down is going to be detracting from local people in Buckinghamshire and Bedfordshire. So there will be more that comes out from this. And mark my words, there will be demonstrations. Okay, press freedom and military accountability. Declassified UK reported that declassified files show the British military undertook intensive military cooperation with Russia in 1995, while Russian forces were killing civilians in Chechnya, published August the 25th. So our government would love us to hate Russia, but we have been in an intensive military cooperation agreement with Russia in 1995. Granted, that's 31 years ago, but that's not the point. Okay, the Morning Star reported that an independent government commissioned review found the Ministry of Defence's blacklisting of Declassified UK as a hostile website was an institutional reflex, per the review carried out by former Downing Street spokesman Tom Kelly. I wasn't sure that the Ministry of Defence had blacklisted Declassified UK as a hostile website, but I would argue that if it's been classified as a hostile website, it's well worth going and having a look at it. Go and see why they're kind of deemed hostile. Go and read the truth. So they're not hostile to us citizens. They deliberately go out of their way to publish the truth about situations that they believe us citizens should know. And isn't it telling that our Ministry of Defence think that that is hostile? Isn't that telling? So I would argue anything that our politicians or the Ministry of Defence, any of the powers that ought not to be, that are saying, oh, don't look there, go and look there. Justice and civil liberties. Novara Media reported that dozens of rights groups have called for a review of the case of 4 Muslim men jailed a decade ago for plotting a terror attack, arguing their conviction resembles previous UK miscarriages of justice in a statement issued August the 12th. Well, Novara Media are quite hot on things like this. It would not surprise me if they were convenient patsies for something and they've been jailed. So, and dozens of rights groups have called for a review of the case. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. It's interesting that these things are starting to come out now. Okay, media industry. The Canary is expanding into print. We know this. Very happy for them, having announced the launch of a daily left-wing tabloid on August the 23rd. So that was 3 days ago, describing as the first UK newspaper Murdoch doesn't own. I hope that's splashed right the way across the front page. This is the first UK newspaper Murdoch doesn't own. So therefore, it's independent. Therefore, you know you're going to get truth. The Canary. Go and support them if you can. They do tireless work for you and I to bring us truth. Go and support them if you can, especially considering Lloyd's of London decided to debank them. If we can support them in any way, shape or form, we should. We really should. We have another caveat from Claude like we did last week. A caveat worth flagging. Several of these stories describe developments like Andy Burnham's role that sit right on the edge of my reliable knowledge. This is very current news, so I'd treat details around exact positions and titles as worth double checking against a primary source if it matters for your purposes. So always remember, when AI gives you anything, it only ever gives you what it's able to give you. So there will be algorithmic things going on. So whoever programs Claude will not have access maybe to everything that we would like to know. So what Claude is kind of, he's doing a bit of a disclaimer. Don't trust AI completely. Go and do your own research. And I would always say that anyway. That's why if Claude, Microsoft Copilot or Grok do tell me something that I'm not sure about, I do always go and do some research. But so far, nothing from a health and wellbeing point of view that would have me deep diving. But that was Claude. We'll now go and have a chat with Grok. Okay, so here are the key recent UK news stories from roughly the 19th to the 26th of August 2026, primarily from alternative outlets. Oh, and top of Grok's pile, number 1, tragic, fatal A66 crash near Middlesbrough, which is just down the road. And this was 4 days ago. A Volkswagen Passat travelling the wrong way on the A66 dual carriageway collided with a marked Cleveland Police armed response vehicle at around 3:39 British Standard Time. 7 people died at the scene. PC's Matthew Blades, 37, Tom Clough, 38, plus 5 young men in the Passat, Michael Robert Cahill, 23, Jacob Matsuik, 23. I apologise if that I just butchered your name. Theo Ray, 17. Cole Robert Worthy, 17, and Mackay Saddington, 18. Oh, absolutely tragic. Okay, so we'll read a little bit more about this because it's not an accident. Police had pursued a suspicious vehicle linked to earlier reports of a Volvo XC60 ramming properties and cloned plates detected by ANPR. For under 7 minutes before aborting, the collision occurred 10 seconds later with a different police vehicle that was assisting the search. The Independent Office for Police Conduct is investigating. Cleveland police later noted possible links to organised crime. 12 people, 9 men, 3 women aged 19 to 61 were arrested on suspicion of offences including firearm possession and organised crime participation. Coverage also referenced dangerous driving videos circulating on social platforms, prompting calls for platforms to remove such content. So all of that seems to be pulled together. So I'm presuming, as Grok has put it all under the same heading, that it's all linked. So the Volkswagen Passat must be linked to these people that were arrested on suspicion of offences. But that's tragic, absolutely tragic for all those lives to be lost. 7 people, 2 policemen and 5 young men. Not great. Okay. Point 2, energy price cap rise for October to December. Ofcom confirmed a 4% increase in the energy price cap from the 1st of October 2026, taking the typical dual fuel direct debit household bill to £1,723 per year, up £60. What's the betting that all of the energy givers, the people who provide the energy, show record profits? What's the betting their CEOs are getting mega bonuses? What's the betting? The rise is driven mainly by higher wholesale gas prices linked to the Middle East conflict. Volatility, gas unit rates rise more sharply, 8% than electricity, 1%. So guys, expect it to go high. The government has removed VAT from domestic electricity bills from the 1st of October 2026 to the 31st of March 2027, which Ofgem said limited the increase. It would otherwise have been higher. Around 35% of households on fixed tariffs are unaffected. Standard charges and unit rates vary by region and payment method. Okay, if you're really worried about your energy bills and the cost of the energy to run your house, I would aim you at a young man called Martin Lewis. He has a money saving website and he is always going on about the energy prices, and he brings you up-to-date information, not just on the energy spikes and dips, but he also has up-to-date information on whether it's right to cap your prices and go with a supplier that will give you a capped rate, or whether it's better to pull away, so fixed tariffs or not. I don't know anything very much about that, but Martin Lewis's money website will be able to help you if you're concerned. And he's great. He's great. Okay, point 3. Prince Harry and Meghan return to the UK. I did see this. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex with babies Archie and Lilibet, so Archie's 7 and Lilibet is 5, arrived in the UK. Purportedly via private flight landing in the Birmingham area today, days after the move was announced. They are relocating from California for an extended period as non-working private individuals living in a non-royal residence outside London Cotswolds area was mentioned in some reports. The children are enrolled in British schools starting in September. King Charles was informed shortly beforehand and is said to welcome closer private family contact. Security arrangements remain a private matter. The couple are not resuming official royal duties. Wow. Well, I have to say, from what I can see and from what I've been told and what I've read, and I don't really research it because I'm not a royalist, but the skinny is that they just couldn't make it in America. I think Meghan Markle thought if she married Prince Harry, she'd be a princess and everything would be perfect. And they would never want for anything. They would never have to worry about anything. And I just don't think her fairy tale came true. She didn't marry a frog. Prince Harry's all right. But I just don't think she got what she thought she was going to get. And she thought that she was sufficiently famous enough, possibly from having married Harry, because all she'd done before that, I think, was some TV series about lawyers called Suits, I think. But I think she thought that she'd be famous enough to be able to ride off the name. And it just didn't happen. It didn't happen. And after a series of failed enterprises that she has tried to do, Netflix, and I think she tried to make jam at one point, and everything failed. So I think Harry's put his foot down. I think Harry has decided to be a man and said, I'm not having it. We're going home. We're going to go back to England because we've got a better chance in England than we have in America. And I think he's right. But like I say, I'm not a royalist. I love the fact that they're saying they are non-working private individuals. Well, they're going to have to work if they want to sustain their lifestyle. They're going to have to work at something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Not riveting, but interesting. I just think it's quite funny. Come back to the UK because you failed in America. Okay, point 4. Political government developments under Andy Burnham. Burnham, who took office earlier in the summer after the previous leadership change, visited Ukraine, discussed support, including intelligence sharing and components related to missiles and drones, and faced Russian statements about consequences. We had this last week. I spoke about poking the Russian bear, and I also said that we need to get out of Ukraine. We need to stop supporting Ukraine. We are sending our money to a corrupt regime. Our money, yours and mine, that could go some way to putting our energy prices down a bit. But no, billions to Ukraine, billions. Ahead of the autumn budget, he has indicated policies will be funded, ruled out an early election, of course he did, and spoken about easing pressure on businesses while emphasising social responsibility. He has also advanced housing, council homes, rough sleeping targets. Like I say, couldn't get it done in Manchester. Don't know how he expects to be able to do it over the whole country before Christmas. Devolution. No number 10 North in Manchester, and cost of living measures such as electricity VAT cut. So he's trying to make all the right sounds so that you don't oust him, so you don't get rid of him. Don't start treating him like you treated Starmer, like forced him out, shouting at him and telling him to resign. A lot of people did. Response to the A66 crash included backing tougher action by Ofcom against platforms hosting videos of dangerous driving. Well, there's always been dangerous driving. People will drive. Some people just drive like maniacs. It's like they have a lead foot and they don't have the ability to drive amiably. But I would argue that when it comes to the videos, hosting videos of dangerous driving, that really doesn't have anything to do with what was happening, I don't think, on the A66. I think that the young men that were in that car were trying to get away from the police that were following them. And unfortunately, the consequence of that was the crash. I don't think, obviously, they were driving dangerously. They were trying to get away from the police. I don't think everybody usually drives like that. So I think it might be a bit of an over response. Okay, other notable items. Weather. I wonder if we're going to be warned of flooding. Weather, yellow warnings for rain and thunderstorms. What did I tell you? You seriously couldn't make it up. Not even 2 weeks ago, we were in drought. So we now have yellow weather warnings for rain and thunderstorms across parts of England and Wales, bringing some of the wettest conditions in weeks after early summer heat and drought. So what will happen now is, because the heat has baked the ground, any water, it will run off. It won't have time to settle in. So that'll be the next thing. The royals, King Charles and Queen Camilla, announced an autumn Caribbean tour. How nice for them. Antigua, with the king continuing to the Bahamas and Guyana. Well, there you go. Yeah, he's not really doing an awful lot else, is he? Local miscellaneous, various incidents including fires, stabbings and arrests reported regionally. Official notices on farming drought support, creative industries and other administrative updates. So these reflect the most prominent developments circulating in the last week. Okay, nothing that I'm going to go into really from a health and wellbeing point of view. Not really anything I would flag up for me to research. No, it's all nonsense, really. It's all this week's been a bit of stuff and nonsense, a bit political, tragedy on the A66. Loss of life is always tragic, regardless of the circumstances that surround it. So that's pretty terrible. But the rest of it's just political claptrap that they would like us to argue with each other about, rather than look at them and argue at them. So that's the news for the past 7 days. Always remember, power to the people, because together we rise.